Hi, everybody, and welcome to our podcast, Original Bliss. I'm Susan Amoros, and on behalf of myself and Erica McElroy of Green Heiress Holistic, I welcome you, and I welcome a very special guest we're privileged to host today, Angela Kennedy of Ritual Blooms. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
It's so great to see you. Thank you for sharing your time and what I would describe as your considerable vision and your many gifts. I have been lucky enough to share in the bounty of what you produce and create on your flower farm. And I would just love to have you talk a little bit about yourself to the audience and your business.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the owner and lead floristry designer at Ritual Blooms. And the farm started about 2 years ago, but my journey to flowers really began in 2017. I like to tell people I fell in love with flowers quite literally. I fell and broke my leg in December 2017. And really, for the first time in my life, I started receiving bouquets as an adult. And I remember, so my journey to recovery was about 10 months. I was in bed for 6 months, and then I had to learn how to walk again. And while I was in recovery, I was very light sensitive and sound sensitive after my surgery because of the medication they had me on. And so I would just kind of lay in a room with no lights on and stare at these flowers. And the irony is that my godmother, which it's very synchronistic, gifted me a flower. I had no idea what it was. And I kind of went on this journey of discovering the flower that she sent me that I just fell in love with. And while I was in bed, I discovered Aaron, a floret, which is a very well-known, famous flower farmer. And for 6 months, I just read everything she wrote. I watched all of her videos. And even though I had been an avid gardener, I grew a lot of medicinal herbs and vegetables. The kind of ethos in my family was, if you can't eat it, don't grow it. But through the journey of discovering floret, I just realized that it was incredible. There are people in the world that are growing flowers for a living. And I thought to myself, that is really what I ought to be doing. So
That's fascinating. I had no idea about that part of, I guess, your initiation into what you're doing now. And it came
yeah,
through, as it often does, through a period of some challenge.
yeah, it really was my big break.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about Ritual Blooms.
Yeah, Ritual Blooms is a farmette. I like that word so much better than micro farm. We are less than 2 acres. We grow cut flowers. My husband and my son is always challenging me to grow better, even though he's only 4 years old. It's definitely a family affair. And we grow flowers for CSAs. We do farmers markets. This year, I moved locations. I was leasing farmland last year, and now we have our own farm.
How
And
exciting.
I know it's very thrilling. And for the first time, we're going to be selling our flowers on site, opening up a farm shop on the land so people can
Really?
come by and get flowers.
Oh, that's marvelous. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about um, your thoughts on nature itself as being healing to you and to others, and how that informed Ritual Blooms.
Yeah, so my healing journey has been a long road. it really started in 2012. I went to a medicine ceremony,
Mm.
and my friend had just had her daughter, and they were introducing her daughter to the fire. And from there, my path kind of uh, leaned towards herbal medicine for a long time. And just growing herbs, making my own medicine. I have always been either a freelancer or, never been in kind of a corporate position where I had healthcare. So for me, it was really important to take care and take ownership over my own daily care of my body and
Mhm.
my relationships around me. And I would say ritual blooms really developed from this sense after I had my son Atlas that I needed a daily practice that was going to ground me back in my body after becoming a new mom.
Oh, yeah.
And tending to the flowers became my ritual. And I just thought it was so special and beautiful to kind of the double layered meaning. Like, this is my daily ritual, and these flowers are for some of life's most sacred rituals and experiences. So that's how Ritual Blooms kind of birthed itself.
That is incredible. When you were bringing this vision to fruition, um, how did you see this unfolding and versus how it actually came into being now?
Oh, no.
I imagine it was quite a journey.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I thought that it would unfold as kind of a career shift for me. I had previously been in interior design work and new construction for almost 20 years.
Right.
And my son was born during COVID. I realized that there was just no way I could go back to doing construction work. I always knew I wanted to farm on a larger scale in a production level. And it had the added bonus of, or what I perceived at the time, giving me more time to be with my son, um, at home and outside, connected with nature, the elements. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful opportunity this would be for him to just like be in the field all day and get familiar with dirty feet. And it's definitely been a part of the experience for him. Like last summer, you could just see him on any given day, like running with no clothes on
Mhm.
through the fields.
Free as can be.
Toddlers should. But I was surprised. It has taken a lot more like stamina. My health has really needed to be a focus, a lot more strength in order to keep up with the pace of the business. I wasn't expecting, I knew that farming in a different scale as home gardening or a hobby gardener was going to be a lot more physically demanding, but I wasn't expecting the level of physical stamina that I had to build myself up to. And that's where the herbs have really come in to support, moving 3 yards of soil and manure and digging lots of holes and always being
Mhm.
crouched down.
That's true. Tell us, do you incorporate your herbal wisdom into your practices at Ritual Blooms?
I do. I personally have a practice of being with the plants and consuming them while I'm working with them.
Mm.
So, for example, one of my favorite bouquet fillers is a beautiful herbal medicine called Tulsi. And
Oh.
yeah, I just love it so much. And so, a lot of times when I'm designing with Tulsi or opal basil, for example, I will also drink the tea to really just get every element of the flower and plant embodiment to, kind of channel some of what they're communicating with me.
That's fantastic. I imagine you incorporate this in some of the varied experiences you offer because you're not just a flower farm and you're not just a florist in the classic sense.
Yes. So when we do workshops here at the farm, I do like to either wild harvest tea as a group, excuse me, or
Have some of that tea.
yeah, have a tea ceremony together. I feel like the plants themselves, when you can kind of tune into their energetic body, you understand more of what they're offering. I think it's incredible that even like the common popular garden flower, dahlia, they are now understanding that there are elements of this flower. It was never previously considered a medicinal plant,
Mhm.
but there are elements of this flower that they're discovering can help fight certain types of cancer.
Well,
And ancient practice was to actually eat the dahlia tuber before it became world renowned for its beauty. It was a food. And as you know, medicine and food are one and the same. So, yeah.
oh, that's fantastic. And is this the type of information that you impart in some of the content you offer to the general public?
Yes. Yeah. When I get the opportunity, I do a lot of weddings, and brides to be will order buckets of flowers from me through my website. And I don't really get the chance
Mhm.
to just fill them in on kind of the background information about just how these plants are actually cared for and what they mean. It's always ironic to me, though, that when I'm in the field cutting for a bride to be, there are certain plants that will say, I want to go to that wedding.
Oh,
And when I really tune in to what plants I end up with at the end of the day, it's so obvious to me the characteristics of like energy that the flowers are trying to bring to the relationship.
oh,
So there are so many just
fascinating.
beautiful layers to my work, even though I don't always get to go into detail about my passion.
Your inspiration comes from nature itself.
Yes. Yeah. And just really listening to the plants. I think it's incredible that flowers and plants that have pollinators attracted to them, they can actually sing. It's not
Mhm.
audible to the human ear, but there's a really great David Attenborough clip on this that when a bee is hovering around a flower, it's giving off a certain tone because the flower and the bee are oppositely charged.
Mhm.
And when the bee lands on the flower, it's literally attracted to the flower's music. When the bee lands on the flower, the tone dampens so that the other bees don't land on that flower while there's a bee on there.
It's such a
I'm
grand
probably
and
botching this
masterful
explanation.
thing. Yeah, it's incredible. And to
Yeah.
be able to plug into that, Angela, at that level and offer that perspective to other people, I think that that's really powerful. And I know that's something our audience appreciates. Um, if you were to select, as we're coming upon spring, fingers crossed, if you were to select some flowers, some medicinal properties of plants, what would you recommend to people to experiment with as they begin to plan their pots in their garden beds?
So my philosophy on this is that a plant really chooses you. We see this a lot in herbal medicine. The plants in your yard that pop up in your yard or are in your neighborhood
Mm.
are oftentimes the plants that you need to remediate a health issue that you currently have going on. So if you're walking through the nursery and you feel like delighted and elated when you see a certain plant or flower, that plant has something to offer you. So my recommendation is just to follow your desire. It's also communicating with you while you're trying to think about what you would like to have in your space.
I really like that your approach to all of this takes us out of that hyperlinear space that we seem to occupy as human beings, and it puts us back in that reciprocating loop with our environment. It's so important, as you suggest, um, to be receptive to the messages, to the music that surrounds
Yeah.
us. Those vibes, right? It's all about the vibration, the frequency.
Yes. Yeah. And Michael Pollan has a great book about this. It's like, are you choosing the plant or is the plant adapting and choosing you? I can't remember. All his books are fantastic, but I think it was his second one that basically explains like the adaptation of chocolate and cannabis and a few other like agricultural products, how we think we're the ones that have cultivated them, but really they developed characteristics that made them more desirable to us.
That's fascinating. And it
Yeah.
reminds us we're really part of a much grander, greater schematic, and everything has a powerful role to play. We're all adapting all of the time to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you see manifesting in your son because of the beautiful lifestyle you and your husband have intentionally exposed him to?
Yeah. It's really incredible to me. My son knows just as many, if not more, names of the flowers that I know. And he will walk through the field and really acknowledge all of them in a very special, innocent way.
Oh,
It One of the things that I love about flowers are, everyone says plants are healing and flowers are beautiful, and all of that's true. But my largest discovery about flowers is really a remembering about the like ephemeral experience of life itself, how everything kind of has a season. It blooms and it dies and it like gives to the next round of growth.
a
And
beautiful cycle.
so, yeah, yeah, it's wonderful. And I see him really tune into that essence where he has this recognition that a flower is just stunningly beautiful and a reflection of his own life, even though he can't put that into words quite yet. Um, it's just a reflection of how precious and how pretty and difficult it can be to blossom in your life. Because a lot of flowers come out of very hostile environments.
It's so true. And because of that, they embody characteristics of tenacity and survival, and then serve the rest of us who are lucky enough to be able to connect to that, right? Through the plant.
Yes, while they remain vulnerable and delicate and receptive and nourishing, it's like they really do, in their plant body and in their spirit, embody what it means to be a person. Like, how do you find the balance that creates beauty? Well, you have to overcome and you have to be willing to offer. And it's just, yeah, a wonderful.
Beautiful. Angela, what would you suggest for people who are bringing in some of that nature, some of the plants intentionally into their homes? What are, aside from honoring what you're drawn to, what speaks to you, how can we incorporate them in our environment?
Yeah, I think actually growing flowers from seed
Mm.
and then caretaking them until they produce seed again and saving that seed and watching the way they change throughout their iterations also changes you internally as you work with it.
Mm.
So, if you want to start to develop a deeper relationship with plants or flowers in general, growing and tending them can really cultivate that experience, and you'll see it being reflected in your life. Just the powerful parallel between what your flower might be going through and what you are going through.
Oh, yeah.
Um, for example, I have been starting, all my annual seeds these last couple of weeks, and I've noticed that the first time a lot of my favorite kind of cultivars to begin are very leggy and
Mhm.
they're like reaching and they're way overstretched. And that is happening to me in my life currently.
Mhm.
I'm just like stretching myself very thin. And so it was kind of like a sign for me that I need to simplify in order to become more grounded so I can be strong
Yes.
when I get planted into the field. So,
That's a fascinating sharing. It really, really is. And I think it's one that everybody can relate to, but they probably never related to it through this particular lens. That kind of brings us to a perfect segue, Angela. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming programming and maybe in particular the collaboration with Green Heiress Retreats, which involves some of what you're talking about?
yeah, I would love to.
Thank you.
This year, we are co hosting 4 workshops on the farm and at Green Heiress that really helps a small group of women look at, or men, anyone who's interested in growing. Look at some of these relationships. We are going to take the journey. The workshops are called A Year in Flowers,
Mhm.
and we are going to take the journey from seed to seed throughout the year and do a lot of really great design work. And you're going to teach embodiment qigong workshop at the farm, and people are really just going to get to experience what it is I'm talking about. And this is a little unlike a traditional learn how to grow flowers class. This is more for the person that really wants to discover some of these connections and
Mhm.
take this healing journey with the plant. Uh, we're going to cover all the basics about how to have a successful garden, but we're going to take it one step further because I really believe that the flowers themselves have things to show us. And it's even more powerful and compounded when you have a group of people together giving these sweet beings their attention.
I
So,
agree. There's something about that collective um, gathering and the shared intention and the experience. It elevates and amplifies that energy.
yeah. Yeah. And the messages that kind of trickle through end up being a little bit different. They end up being less personalized and they end up stretching beyond the individual to the community.
What do you hope people arrive with in terms of their expectation? I gather that we don't really have to have any specific experience in the flower world to take part in these workshops.
Yes, that's correct. So, this is for beginners or advanced. We're going to look at it from a few different angles. The beginner person will walk away with a knowledge of how to grow flowers, but also the starting down the path of really where the plant wants to take them.
Mm.
You might think flowers are beautiful and you're interested in gardening, and nobody ever taught you the right seed tray to get, the type of soil to get. How do you build your bed? We're going to look at all of those things.
One.
But you could also have been growing flowers or growing vegetables or had a garden for many years, but you never really stopped to consider, what is it that the plant is actually offering me? How do I companion plant them so that my garden is more productive? How do I really take my work to the next level? If somebody is interested in doing production level growing, then this would be a great place for them to start if they're
That's what
moving
I'm
from.
thinking when I'm listening to you. It really would be very appealing to somebody who has that ambition.
Yeah. 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 I think that this is an opportunity to also learn in a group and find like minded people that are interested in the same thing. Because by the end of the season, I have hundreds of seeds that I don't even have space to plant. Part of my dream is that we'll have a group of growers together that are sharing seeds, preserving seeds, and hybridizing seeds. So we're creating new varieties as a community. And yeah, we're just sharing the abundance that's given to us so freely. We just kind of have to take up the staff and care for it.
Angela, that is such a beautiful vision and an amazing message of community during an era, during times when I think we are all seeking community.
Yeah. And connection. Yeah.
Yes, so
And
important.
that's part of the remembering part that I feel like flowers give us.
Oh, that's lovely. Can you tell people, Angela, where to find your enterprise, both online and in real life?
Yeah. So the farm is located in Mars off of Myoma Road, 299 Myoma Road. And the farm shop will be open Memorial Day weekend, 6 days a week from dawn till dusk. People can stop by and pick up a bouquet. I'll also be sharing some other local farm products from farms that I'm connected to. So eggs, honey, soaps, teas, things like that. And online, you can follow me on Instagram at Ritual Blooms, ritual.blooms on Instagram. And my website is ritualblooms.com.
That's fantastic. And if you are interested in taking part in one or more or the entire year experience, which consists of 4 modules, 2 on site at Angela's beautiful farm and 2 on site at Heiress Holistic here in Aspinwall, PA, please visit Angela's website. And more information will also be available at ghtretreats.com. Angela, this has been absolutely delightful.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's been a pleasure for me as well.
Thank you so much.